Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Grant Mitchell and I'm here to break down everything that happened at day one of the Washington Commanders training camp here on a bright and sunny Tuesday afternoon. Big headlines coming out of training camp. Adam Peters talked about Terry McLaurin's contract situation. Dan Quinn addressed what year two for Jayden Daniels looked like. Some coach speak involved, but a whole lot of juicy information that we are going to dive into. If this is your first time here on the channel, then I do encourage you, please hit that subscribe button. This is going to be my second video today. I'm also posting daily content where we talk about news involving the Commanders. We're going to react to practice footage. When the season rolls around, we're going to preview and then analyze games. Everything involving the Commanders, you will find it on this channel. So if you want to support me, if you're a fan of the team, if you're a DC native, if you just like football and good YouTube content, hit that subscribe button. Hitting the like button as well also does help me get out into the YouTube algorithms. I would appreciate it. Now, because this is an important day one of training camp, I do want to get your thoughts and everything that I'm saying as we go through this video. So as I go on, please go to the comment section. Let me know what you think about what I'm reporting to you here. I don't make these videos just to record to nothingness. I make them because I want to engage and really build a community. And I will be responding to everybody who says something below. So yeah, with that out of the way, all that good housekeeping stuff, let's talk about the big news of the day, which is Terry McLaurin said that he was going to leave every option on the table, holding in, holding out, keeping his nose clean, requesting a trade. Everything was on the table. Well, today we found out what he decided to do. Terry McLaurin is officially holding out of training camp. He is going to be charged $50,000 per day that he is not there. Dan Quinn said that he expected everybody, including Terry McLaurin, to be there, probably knowing McLaurin wasn't going to show up. Whether that was said to him directly by McLaurin or not, who knows, but DQ did say that he'd been in constant communication with Terry throughout the offseason. And let's keep in mind, Terry's beef, if you want to call it that, is not with Dan Quinn. And I don't want to say that it's directly with Adam Peters either. It's just the institution of the Commanders and the people that are preventing him from getting his money, the powers that be, which, to be fair, Adam Peters is the head of that. But it's not Dan Quinn, and I do think that's a good thing, especially knowing how good of a culture guy Terry is, how good of a culture setter that Dan Quinn is. In the event that this contract situation gets settled and Terry comes back to practice, knowing the foundation of his relationship with Dan Quinn, with Jayden Daniels, with these other players, I think that's for the best. Now, that is assuming a deal gets worked out in the future, and that's not certain at this point. But so let's talk about what actually happened. Terry is entering the final year of his current deal. He's only going to make $19.7 million this year. His current deal, which was a 3-year extension, has an average annual value of just about $23 million. Terry, rightfully so, is looking at the market for current wide receivers and saying, hey, I'm better than DK Metcalf, who got $35 million a year. I'm better than T. Higgins, who's getting close to 30. I'm better than Garrett Wilson, who's getting 30. He's right in saying that. I think where the Commanders are coming from is you are better than them, but in the case of a Garrett Wilson, for example, he's 24 years old and he hasn't had great quarterback play throughout his career. Terry didn't have great quarterback play either, but he did also sign for $23 million average. That's different from 30 plus, especially considering Terry's going to be 30 years old within the first month of the season. If we're looking at this just financially, looking at the numbers, and we're taking away the emotional connection between Commanders fans, the team, and Terry McLaurin, if they go ahead and offer him a 3-year extension worth $35 million, I think that would be enough for Terry to take it. I'm going to guess that he's looking for 4 years, but let's just say it's 3 years. So he's still got 1 more year on this deal, which will be through his age 30 season. A 3-year extension would put him under contract at $35 million per year for age 31, 32, and 33. And again, that's only a 3-year deal. I think it's very possible Terry would want 4, so that would put him under contract through his age 34 season. Well, the Commanders are probably looking at this for whatever reason, saying, hey, Terry, we want you on this team desperately. We know your value that you bring to the field, to the locker room. You just set a franchise record in touchdowns last year. We want you around, but in the hopes of continuing to build out a championship caliber roster, even after Jayden Daniels is getting a boatload of money, because at some point, he's going to be the highest paid player in NFL history. It's going to happen. It might only last for a day, depending on what other quarterbacks sign their contracts, but that time is coming. Jayden's going to be making $60 million a year. And when that happens, all of a sudden, if you've overpaid by $5 million a year on a receiver deal, and you've got to pay that off for the next 2 to 3 years, that rears its head because there's much less wiggle room. The Commanders right now could afford to maybe overpay a little for Marshawn Lattimore and for Javon Kinlaw, but that can't go on forever once the rookie quarterback contract window has closed. So, to get back to what I'm kind of saying here, the Commanders have all of the leverage in the world, just like any team does, really. Players still get their money. There are successful holdouts, but that doesn't mean that the team doesn't start in the advantage. And so the Commanders can let this thing go. Say, hey, Terry, we're fining you $50,000 every day you don't show up for training camp. We're fining you your game checks. And then when they get to the end of the situation, they can just say, hey, look, we're franchise tagging you, non-exclusive. You're not going anywhere. You're playing for us next season. The franchise tag for receivers this year is, I believe, $23.9 million. It will go up next year. Let's just assume it's a small bump to $25 million. If they franchise tag him again the year after that, that would be 120% of either the player's last contract value or the average of the top 5 players in the league over the last 5 years. Believe I got that right. Let's just say let's say the tag goes up to $25 million next year. Terry gets that. You do 120% of that. It goes to $30 million in 2027. So you would have, in this upcoming season, Terry getting $19.7 million. In 2026, he'd be getting 25, and in 2027, he would be getting 30. Now, it's not what Terry would want, because he wants a long-term guaranteed deal. And the tag guarantees the money that he would get. It's just that it's not as much as he would want. And of course, it's only for 1 year at a time. Theoretically, the Commanders could tag him once and then not tag him again as well. If his production drops off a cliff, or there's a receiver that comes available that they think brings more value, they might just cut Terry loose and go sign that new guy. But if we're to assume the Commanders do hit him with the double tag, that would mean Terry would play the next 3 years for the Commanders, and over those 3 years, basically making 20, then 25, then $30 million a year. It works out to $25 million per year. So if the Commanders choose to go down that road, right now we're looking at Terry unofficially signing a 3-year extension worth $25 million per year. I think that's the correct way to look at it from the Commanders' perspective. Well, Terry, speaking of him not having leverage, he is 30 years old. I've said he probably wants a 4-year deal. He would probably be willing to accept a 3-year deal. And let's say it's even lower than $35 million a year. Let's say he just wants a flat rate of $30 million per year. Well, the Commanders can counter and say, hey, dude, we essentially have you on a 3-year deal for $25 million right now. And if we want to extend you beyond that, that would be into your age 33 season. And everything we know about NFL history has told us that is not the right thing to do. And look, that would suck for Terry. I'm not advocating for robbing the man or withholding the money that he is rightfully due, but it makes business sense for the Commanders to do. And there's no loyalty in sports. There's no loyalty in professional sports. I fully believe the Commanders want to do the right thing. Adam Peters said that he wants to negotiate in good faith with Terry. But if Terry is coming to the table saying, I need $35 million a year, they can just say, dude, we're getting you for $10 million per year cheaper as it is right now. Maybe we'll take you to like 27, 28 million to give you that peace of mind and to honor the culture we're building, but you've got to work with us. And it doesn't seem as if the two sides are close yet. A holdout signifies to me they are far apart. If Terry was showing up for practice and maybe just not participating, or maybe like he was doing warm-ups and then sitting out, that at least does signal there is good faith. I believe that a deal is getting done. Completely holding out says to me, no, we're not close right now. So this is a situation absolutely to monitor. In the event Terry gets a new deal with the Commanders, they're going to wipe away the fees for the $50,000 a day of missed practice. They're just going to say, forget about it. We rescind those fines. But it is something to watch right now because, we're less than a month away from the preseason. We're really just a few weeks away from the preseason beginning. We're a month and a half or so, maybe even a little bit less from the regular season kicking off. And look, this is a Commanders team, like it or not, they've been under the radar for so long, and last year seemed to come out of nowhere, but they are expected to contend for a Super Bowl. If you look at FanDuel Sportsbook, which is the biggest sportsbook in America, the Commanders are tied for 6th in Super Bowl odds. Let me double check that actually, because I want to get what the exact numbers are here. So you've got the Ravens, the Bills, the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Lions, and okay, so the Commanders and the Rams were tied for 6th. The Randers, what am I saying here? I got to slow down when I talk. The Rams have pulled ahead to 17-1, while the Commanders are 18-1. I believe a few days ago they were both tied at 18-1. But still, the Commanders are a top 7 pick to win the Super Bowl. And this is their really only truly guaranteed star talent on the offensive side of the football, not including Jayden Daniels. I mean, even Laramie Tunsil, who's a 4-time All-Pro, there's still questions about him because he led the league in penalties last year, and he allowed 4 sacks, which still not a ton, but his worst year in a few years. Terry's the guy. And so whether it's getting a new deal, whether it's saying, dude, look, we're sorry, but we're just tagging you for the next 2 years, whether it's trading him, I need a resolution quickly. And this team needs a resolution because they've built themselves on the foundation of having a great culture and a great locker room, and this is a distraction. And look, with Trump trying to issue an ultimatum about the name change and just the uncertainty of where they're going to be playing their football in the next few years, and Jayden's contract is coming up, there's just a lot going on. And I really want the team to be able to focus in and stay centered on what's in front of them in the building. Moving on to some other comments that were made by Adam Peters and Dan Quinn during their press conference, which again was ahead of day 1 of training camp today on Tuesday. Something that I thought was very cool. They talked about facility upgrades. Some of the Commanders players posted some stuff on their Instagram. I remember Tyler Owens showed off the new locker room setup. There's a picture of a hyperbaric chamber decked out in Commanders gear. We'd seen pictures of a new bubble. Adam Peters addressed all of that. He said that, credit to Josh Harris. This guy is fully invested in the team and committed to winning. They built a new bubble, a new locker room, brought in new recovery equipment, new food center. He named some other items as well. But it says a lot to me that they're investing in the little things that go into winning. If you remember the year-end report cards that the NFL issues, which include things like how do they treat families, what's the food like, the training staff, the locker rooms, all that stuff, the Commanders were basically straight Fs every year. Last year, there was a huge uptick in a lot of their grades, and it seems like they're not content with that. They want to keep improving and become the best place for players in the NFL. It's great to have talent and a coach, but if you live in a good city and you've got a nice stadium and the locker rooms are nice and your family can come by and you enjoy coming to work, that says a lot to players who might be interested in a trade and especially free agents. That's something that I've taken from not what the Commanders' facilities are like right now, but you listen to free agents. Von Miller was the latest to talk about it. They always speak about how they want to come work for Dan Quinn because everybody who's around him wants to show up to work, and it's exciting to go to work. Well, you don't need to have that in a coach, even though the Commanders do, but having that coach and the facilities really amplifies your chances of landing these marquee guys. So I think this is a great thing, especially when you start to consider that, hey, our quarterback is best friends with Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., and Neighbors doesn't seem to be thrilled in New York, and Micah Parsons he's not going scorched earth because he didn't start it, but he's letting the clip fly on Jerry Jones right now after Jerry basically insinuated he wasn't willing to pay Micah money and questioned Micah's availability for the team. And Micah saying, I'm not here to please you. I'm here for the other guys in the locker room. I don't care what he says. And it's disappointing. I wish my team treated me the way that the Raiders treated Max Crosby and the Browns treated Myles Garrett. I don't like the differences. All this stuff. Yeah, there might be some unexpected big names that come available. And if you can just do anything in your power to make yourself more attractive to someone who could be a star for your team, I'm all in favor of it. So tip of the hat to Josh Harris. One more quick thing on McLaurin I forgot to mention, because I'm reading this kind of in time order of the press conference, and one of the first topics was obviously McLaurin, and then they came back to it later in the press conference. Adam Peters did say they want to do everything they can to get a deal done, but he also said they have to value the future as well as the present. And then he referenced that 3 of the 4 teams in the conference championship last year had quarterbacks who were not on their rookie deals. That being Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen. 3 guys who are making big, big money. So Jayden is going to get there. And how's the team going to look? How's the payroll going to look when your quarterback goes from making $10 million or whatever Jayden's making right now to $60 million? It really changes the complexion of things. Dan Quinn going to some second-year guys, talking about their development and their importance. I thought this was interesting because one of the points I raised in my video earlier today was the second-year guys and how I was paying attention to them. I was not pleasantly surprised, but I was just excited to hear Dan Quinn talk about these guys. And he talked about 2 people who I've had my eye on. He talked about Ben Sinnott and Brandon Coleman. He said that Ben Sinnott, who got some off-season shoulder surgery done, said that he was in the recovery room basically every day throughout the entire offseason, as was Sam Cosmi. So those 2 never really took a break. They were just constantly in the building. And DQ said that he's noticed the confidence that Sinnott took from his weight training and offseason work and brought it to the practice field. He also said that Brandon Coleman, who was told early in the offseason he was going to be playing guard after they drafted Josh Connerly and brought in Laramie Tunsil, they said, hey, Brandon, you're kicking inside. He said that Coleman has really attacked that guard spot, which he does have familiarity with from his days in college at TCU. And he said that he's looked great at it. So this makes me very excited because, as I've said numerous times, superstar players will take you over the top. But just because you have a quarterback and a receiver or a great corner, whatever, does not mean you're going to be a contending team. The Cincinnati Bengals are an example of that with Burrow and Chase and Higgins, but the foundation of the team isn't there. The foundation of your team is in the trenches. And if the Commanders are right that Brandon Coleman and Josh Connerly are the guys, and Sam Cosmi's a Pro Bowler, and Laramie Tunsil's an All-Pro, and Biotish is a top 10 center, well, you've got a top 10 minimum offensive line for the next 3 years. So to hear him talk glowingly about Brandon Coleman makes me excited. Because again, that's not how you win a Super Bowl, but that's how you win at least one playoff game every year. And then it's just up to the front office to build out the roster on top of that. And I trust them to do that, especially with this quarterback. One final thing that I did want to mention here, because it's a guy who's caught a lot of flack, Deebo Samuel. The people have made fun of his weight, said that he's breaking down early in his career. His style of play is not going to hold up well into his later years. And look, those might be some valid criticisms, but Deebo has clearly been focused on improving and impressing in his first year with the Commanders. Dan Quinn said that he brings such a joy to the team, and I think that will be very important. If the McLaurin deal gets done, that's great. If it doesn't, it's going to look different. The offense will look different than we had thought because Deebo's not an ex-receiver. But to still have someone in that position group bringing the joy and competitiveness to the team, even if you don't have Terry's ability and skill, Terry did bring that fierceness and that competitiveness and that leadership and that desire and hunger. And Deebo Samuel, it sounds like, is willing to step in and provide that in the event that he needs to. And if he doesn't, then he's just adding more fuel to the fire, which I love. Adam Peters did also say that he worked with Deebo, obviously, when he was with the 49ers. And one of the things that Deebo has embraced is moving to a team that plays this no-huddle style. And he said that Deebo spent a lot of time working on his cardio and his conditioning, and he's ready to be fast and consistent and up his stamina. And that's something that is music to my ears because Deebo led the league in yards after catch for 4 straight seasons. So if his cardio is even better and he's running against a tired defense and he's got fresh legs, make it 5 straight years and make the Commanders' offense even more explosive. Can you imagine an 8-play drive where they've been in no huddle for 8 straight plays, and then you get Debo on a screen, and you've got a tired defense trying to get him on the ground? Sounds like a touchdown to me. So that's something that I want to see. Guys, that is going to do it for this video. If you did enjoy, please hit the like button. Again, I will encourage you deeply from the bottom of my heart, hit that subscribe button so that you never miss out on a video as we go through this journey through training camp, the preseason, and of course the regular season and playoffs. Go to the comment section. Let me know what you thought about everything in today's video. Let me know what you think about the McLaurin drama. I will see you all tomorrow with an update. And until then, have a great day.